Alright, I am back with another video. I'm not expecting to make another video today. It's 8:30 at night, it's the 20th. Well, with Jackey, a lot has happened over the past 2.5 weeks. I did not expect this to happen so early into the new year. On the third day, January 3rd, this is where it began. I want to explain what happened exactly and what happened in the days coming afterwards, and now what's happening now as he's trying to apologize. Which I'll admit, he's making some growth. Now, originally what happened is on January 3rd, it was about 2 p.m. if I remember correctly. 2 3 p.m. we started talking about Asian racism. It was about Stephen He, Uncle Roger. Alright? How they are unironically and probably unintentionally creating more racism by flattening Asians into a flattening stereotype. Before we continue, I'm going to mention I'm doing this raw, unscripted, just out of my pure thoughts. So if I do stutter, that's on me. Alright? So, as I mentioned, since Jackey loves watching Stephen He and Uncle Roger, he was quick to defend them, which understandably so. But I feel like he misunderstood the grasp of the issue of it and how it causes more harm than good. And got a little too defensive and things got out of hand really fast. Now, I'm not 100% innocent myself. I admit I did some questionable things. I admit that. Like, let's just say some racist things. I said some slurs. Unintentionally, per se. A way to get his attention. But I want to mention, we started yelling, arguing a lot. And per se, I started slipping into slurs, calling them Chinese slurs and such, which I do regret and do not want to justify. No, I will not try to justify. I do regret that. But when he should have said that it's okay, that it's your opinion, keep going, and all this such like that, I literally heard him say that. I was flabbergasted and I completely stopped in the moment, like, what? Like, you can't be serious. So my instant thought was, like, he wouldn't go as far as Hitler, right? So I asked him the question, and I want to make this clear. The question, as worded, if someone were to openly praise Hitler, would you let them? That was the question, and I want you to let that sink in. Remember that question being worded like such, as that's going to be important. What he said afterwards was yes, and that it was quote unquote their opinion. That's not something an opinion per se. That's sort of fascism and endorsing harmful ideologies. We're talking about fascism, the Nazis, Adolf Hitler, not just random people like maybe like Jill Stein. We're not talking about like Kamala Harris or Bernie Sanders or some casual rather conservative like John McCain or Jeb Bush. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the worst of the worst. We're talking about the AH, number 88. I should not be announcing him like that. Okay, never mind. I'm sorry for that. Either way, and well, things I could not handle and be okay with that. So I should have left the call, because as this happened in the Discord voice call, and I should have left the voice call, blocked him instantly within like 10 seconds. I'm surprised I did that fast. I will admit that. I'm surprised I managed to do all that fast. Yes, I'm holding a pen actually. Some fidgeting. Leave me alone. It's a stim for me. Even then. What else do I need to add? That I just stepped away from the theater and went downstairs just to mind my business, just to calm myself down. Like there's no way because I was telling myself, there's no way I experienced that and just witnessed him say that. Like, I had a hard time believing that he did. But even that he still did. And the issue is, that's not a safe space. That is a permissive space. If I remember the words. I did send a video beforehand. The video was by Remy W. Anders. something I'm pretty sure if it was, remember the name? About the difference between a safe space and a permissive space, which I highly suggest you go check out yourself. The video is amazing and I love it a lot, by it, dear to my heart. Now to add on, I actually do have, in fact, did in fact shave the, what was it, the chat log of it, for the most part. Even if this video ends up being like, what, 2 hours long? I don't care how long the video is going to be. I'll go through it to help you understand what was going on here. So let me just pull up the Google Doc, because I copied and pasted the chats. A lot of them, the chats, I did not read. I just copied it, put it in the document, just for save for later. So for some of the messages, it's probably the first time I'm actually taking it and processing it. So let me make sure you are able to see that side. Let me switch there. And now let me just shrink my camera. And, oop, not that one. That's not my camera. So if I'm doing this live at the same time. So, hey, let me go shrink my camera there. I don't know if that's gonna work. By the way, here we go. He originally began with saying Jimmy Carter here is a racist, MF, period. Which is a crazy statement if we're going to be honest. As I was saying that being edgy humor is one thing. Having dark humor is one thing. But the thing is, edgy humor and dark humor work a certain way that it has to be done a certain way. Otherwise, it's not edgy humor. It's just being for lack of better words, a jackass. I'm going to try to find a way to, I'm just going to say it. A jackass. If you know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to say the full word. No? Then he left the group for some reason. I guess from me blocking him that managed to do that. No, I don't think so, actually. But there's a time period between here and he, actually there's the time, because this is on 4:13 p.m. Because, yeah, it began about 2 p.m. 3 p.m. or something like that. And we got here. So about 4:30 p.m. on January 3rd is when this happened. And then here equals saying, wait, whoa. Yeah, he's saying gifts because apparently I cannot send gifts when I copy and paste chats. Don't worry. Then he asked me, pinged me, asking he wants to be let back in the group chat, which this was in the group chat, by the way. Which I did not kick him. I just left. I went downstairs. I didn't realize this part originally happened until about an hour later, after the messages were sent. I'll make that clear. I was downstairs, just trying to take a break and calm down. He said asked him something happened, which, fair point, never mind, I found out myself, because, well, he's able to. He added him back. And here is how he worded it. He ended up talking, he says he ended at talking about if someone were to boast Hitler, which is one way to word it, not exactly how I said it. I said it was their opinion, which is one way to leave out the details of what actually happened. I want you to remember the question I gave you, being, if someone were to openly praise Hitler, would you be okay with it? Would you allow it? Would you let them? That was the question. I want to make sure you know that. Because before he said some racist slurs, which, although yes, I admit that I did, I regret that. I mentioned that. I kept spamming the F word. I think it was the FU, you know that one. Push F that one. Which I said was his opinion, which is already crazy already for him to admit that. No one's stepping, which is already crazy to mention. And then he cut off, which I blocked him, and he blocked me. Yeah, which I didn't know he blocked me back too. I did not know that originally, till I began to copy and paste these messages. It says here, it says so basically he rage quitted because he didn't completely sit with him, which is one way to completely flip the narrative to make you feel like the victim, to make me feel like the perpetrator, the offender per se, which the emojis, all that. And it's just basically, this is the start when he brought up Uncle Roger Stephen, which when you couldn't even spell bravado, right? I'm copied word for word, so misspellings are there intentionally too. No, I'm joking. I said by his laws, Jim Carr is as worse. Not necessarily. Nuance is a thing. It's also per se how you do go about it and how you express some things. When I mentioned Uncle Roger and Steve He, they're Asians themselves. They have their own natural Asian accents. But the fact that they put on a caricature of Asians, a stereotypical one, flattens that and flattens other Asians into, well, harmful stereotypes. Which is that most of their audience are teenage white children who are going to laugh at them, not with them. Although there might be here and there some good people who laugh with them, but that does not take away the fact that most of the fans, most of the viewers, are white people, not Asians. There have been multiple videos of people literally calling them out, and how Stephen He and Uncle Roger refuse to actually take accountability and make themselves feel, victimize themselves for when people criticize them. It says here, I mean, yeah, Hitler's bad, which, no doubt, because you can't force someone to have different opinions. You can't force someone to have different, which is one way to completely change the narrative. We're talking about a safe space here, something that's done by choice. Remember, private thought and public expression are not the same thing. Public thought, intrusive thoughts. You don't know everyone's intrusive thoughts. You're not going to know their intrusive thoughts all the time unless they say it out loud. When he admits that, that's a choice that was done. That's no longer something you can step back and sidetrack. That is something you choose and chose to do. You cannot take back that right away or very quickly. I mean, technically you kind of can, but when you're saying something like that, you're doing this on the spot. You're choosing to do so as well. It's a public expression of such thought. Force people to express something is different from having forced people to have control of private thoughts, which is a whole different thing. Private thoughts, something that you can control and put in yourself. To keep yourself to yourself, like intrusive thoughts. A whole different thing. And he wants to go into, you can try to convince them, but you can't force them. It's crazy. And then he says that's what I said, which, no, I'm not gonna say that's not what he said at all. I said, oops. He was right about that. Says it's their opinion, no one's stopping them. If we disagree, that's dislike. Which, comparing the number 88, if we know what we're talking about, with disagreeing or disliking is one way to completely ignore reality. Like this, no. Is that technically fascist too? Which is a crazy comparison. Not how history works at all. Considering fascists control one side of the media, control what's true, what's wrong. Setting boundaries isn't fascist. I want to make that clear. Setting boundaries isn't fascism. It's nowhere clear to fascism at all. And if you're comparing that, having boundaries and having rules for what is it can be expressed is not fascism. Having boundaries and having rules for what can be expressed as quote-unquote valid opinion or acceptable opinions is not fascism. That is not what fascism is about. Which is unironic considering you do not know what fascism actually even is. Shows more uneducatedness, but the other than, so I said they laughed. I showed the communist one, which is crazy to comparison considering equal has a history of using the horseshoe theory, which is a false theory at all. In comparison, you can go too far left, and you go too far left, you become a fascist. You go too far right, you become a communist somehow, which is not even true at all. Completely ignores context throughout history. Then guy says this one, which that, yeah, I'm sure you can read. And well, it says, yeah, he said, what if someone boasted him? Which has said opinion, and he looks after that, which is completely ignoring context completely of who Hitler even is. How that might make someone feel unsafe. That you're completely okay. So that is an opinion which is just a thought, a private thought, public expression of such thought or opinions are not the same thing. Something you choose to express is something you should be held accountable for, especially if it makes other people feel unsafe. I'm saying that he essentially did something fascist because which crazy comparison and accusation and conclusion, jumping to conclusions because he wants someone to have a certain view. No, I actually did not necessarily want him to have a certain view with me. You can have differences of views while still having boundaries, saying public praise of Hitler, or saying having people in your group who are okay with public praisal of Adolf Hitler being not. You don't want that in your group. I can say if you're okay with public praisal of Hitler, then get out. You can see that. That's a boundary. And that is not fascist. That is setting boundaries and make sure people around you are feeling safe. That is what a safe space does. Completely one way is crazy because individualism wants one way to jump to it. You spin a lot of racial slurs, which, okay, I want to make one note. Saying spam in terms of talking, speech-wise, like physical talking, it feels weird. I'll make that weird. I think there's a better word for that. That's sidetracking. Alright, I mentioned that. I do regret it. I do not want to justify it. Yeah, I did wrong there. I don't even want to try to find a way to minimize that. Before we left, but I allowed him to prove a point, which crazy twist, saying it was meaning to. I was done to help me prove a point, which weird. It's one way twist of spin of things, and I don't know if he got mad, which no, I felt unsafe. You said something making me feel unsafe, and make probably a lot of other people feel unsafe too. Because of it, especially after that Hitler question he asked, and he thought I was going to try and justify the stuff that. Which this is happened January 3rd, so if you remember that last what happened when Duro kidnapped in Venezuela, I'm sure that was when that happened. So he relapsed, which is crazy, and trying to make me feel uncomfortable. The fact that I was uncomfortable, feeling unsafe, turning my distress into their victimhood, as if I was the perpetrator or I was the offender somehow, which is one way to be toxic. Equal, I have a history of hell with him, considering he has said a lot of wild things, and just for the sake of shock humor, into the sense of it's crazy. And says, yeah, and they block him too. One, past history, I have an issue with ego past history-wise. And even then, concerning the amount of things he said over the years, that I still have him in my life at all, let him in to my inner circle. I'm surprised I didn't do this sooner. He is a net negative for me. Since I've kept him out of my life, per se, my life has gotten better, per se. I felt more happier, felt safer, felt better about myself. And this happened back in April 2024 as well. For like a month into the 2024 playoffs, when I started streaming that on my main channel, I felt better. I had blocked him by that time, on the April 20th, 2024, and for about between that and May 23rd, I had him out of my life. And I was generally doing better. I went from severe depression to almost getting out of depression somehow. I got better. And honestly, things did kind of work temporarily after we got back until it started to go back to trash again, and it still is that way now. I mentioned that. So, and here's where I join back. This is the paradox of tolerance. Karl Popper, a society that tolerates intolerance without limits eventually loses the ability to be tolerant at all. Not everyone. Why though? Which nope. Boundaries. Random raging. Wow, that's throwing random words out there. Buzzwords. As if you think you're in the right. Straight up doing that. But like, I didn't even do anything to warrant blah. Ugh, crazy. I already mentioned this already. He got mad. No, I felt unsafe. Alright. We're gonna go through this situation with Pitt. This guy, Pitt, by the way, is gonna be meant, like, let's say, port in the conversation later. I said, host one, praising Hitler isn't an opinion. Opinion. It's just opinion, just a thought. It's just two different things. I've already mentioned this already multiple times. Alright, violate a boundary of mine, which I did, and I said, I asked him whether if someone were to praise Hitler, whether he would let them. He said yes, without question, which is a problematic response and a violation of boundary, I said. I think it was right here. I think he was responding to this one, responding to this, probably something here. Saying you praise Hitler when all he said was that you can't force him, which is not what he said at all. Which, by the way, by you don't like in conversations, you don't have to necessarily say completely directly, explicitly say yes, and you can mean like say the words differently, and still doesn't mean yes or doesn't mean no. Like, not right now. Like I'm not I'm feeling sick. Like let's say I'll say you want to go out and have fun in the park or something. I'm feeling sick. You didn't explicitly say no, but that response alone can simplify and mean yeah, that means no. You can make conclusions and say yeah, that means no, and they're able to go out there, go out into the park, have some fun. That's how conversations work. That's what happened here. Are we losing how conversations work at all? This video is up to 22.5 minutes already. Crazy. But wouldn't it be a violation of rights to force someone to have a certain opinion? Related to this conversation, technically force is one thing. To educate, as I mentioned, and we'll mention later on in this chat log here, that, well, education is important. The number one threat to dictatorships and authoritarians is an educated population. So just as I allowed you to constantly spam racial slurs, which is one way to show that you do not have a moral compass, and F words, that's your opinion, no one's stopping you, which is one way to show that you don't have a moral compass. Show that you're okay with the worst of the worst. Shows you do not have a moral compass, and that is very problematic. And if you can't have those boundaries, and you're clearly willing to violate those boundaries, then no, I cannot let you back. I'll mention accepting apologies is one thing, letting them back is a whole different thing. Okay, everyone here in the university agrees that Hitler's a bad person. I wish that was everyone in the group chat. You could say that, yeah. In the world, definitely not, sadly. We can force some different opinion. Wait till I was forcing opinions now. As I've mentioned already, no, that is not what happened. We're going to convince them. Allowing appraisal of genocide ideology inside a shared space is a choice. Right here. I'm going to fix that there. Keyword, choice. Let me highlight that word. I'll highlight it right here for the highlighting that word. Choice. Choice right there. Choice. The box here is crazy here. He's fine with having his fingers affected, but not those ones you can't conceive. We're talking about Hitler. Yeah. Once again, we'll talk about the H-Man, the failed Austrian painter. Fascism isn't an opinion. Not everything is an opinion. Keyword, not everything is an opinion. This is, unironically, I'm going to also do that there. As the irony is going to come back later. This is probably going to be part 1. Considering how long this video already is, I'm probably going to have to put this into multiple videos. If I say the earth was flat, would that be an opinion? No, but it isn't. It's an outright lie. So I'm conflating the king two. I learn king boundaries. I'm sorry for swearing in these chats, because, yeah, at the point I started to get angry. Then wouldn't you need to strip someone's rights away to prevent that game? Why you let me game like this? I started realizing, that's kind of weird, especially with you. No, you do not need to strip people's rights away to prevent fascism. That shows that you are ignorant and actually do not know how effective education actually is on preventing history. Oh my. You're acting like a hierarchy is natural, which it isn't. Democracy is fragile. That's a whole other thing there. Goodness, their opinion. There's no stopping them unless you want to declare martial law on them or something. Unironically, when I thought of martial law, I think South Korea, because what's happening there, their dictatorship. Even then, which is one crazy thing. Opinion does not equal value. Because even then, let's just say praising Hitler was an opinion, which is already not an already a crazy take. Let's say that was the case. If it harms the many, puts people in danger, if it makes people feel actually unsafe due to valid danger concerns, then is that actually an opinion worth letting fester in a quote-unquote a safe space? We're talking about a safe space. This is a group chat between you and me, Jackey. A friendship group, not a whole public debate here. We're not having this whole countrywide thing. We're not making laws. We're not making policies. We're talking about a friendship group between you and me. So, acting as if this conversation is about policies or full-on complete total politics outside a friendship group is crazy behavior. Here, Germany, ask them how they managed to make guardrails for democracy, how they make moves to prevent it from happening again. Force is needed. Education kills fascists. Educated people kills fascists. And by kills, we're talking about prevents it, not killing in the actual physical murdering people. We're not talking about that. I do not condone that. That's just weird. But even if you want to try to go as far to the logical, watery extreme, that's what I do ad absurdum in philosophy and trying to find a situation where that murder could be okay. If I'm there, go for it, I guess. Try it. But that's philosophy, and that's a whole nother topic for another day. It says not here, but it says, by the sounds of it, your solution to those who choose to support opposition is to oppress them, which framing supporting Hitler as opposition is already doing you, humanizing them, normalizing them, which is already more problematic, showing you why. We're talking here. It says sovereignty, I'm pretty sure this is a reference to this here, this question I asked. No, it is to educate them. Oppress and education are not the same thing. How's he doing education? One, talk about educating the fascists here. And that, wouldn't I imply in this conversation that I was the one doing educating completely 100%? I think you're just showing them out. Implying that fascists do deserve to be shamed. They do. Fascism is not a regular opinion. Once again, I'm sure you can get the message over and over again. Where's education? The only thing that the U.S. could do simply is guardrails. Which, would it help possibly? Yeah, it would help prevent them to actually get successful in their actions? Per se, yeah. There's small improvements in education. Small, which is kind of a weird way to put it. Consider education funding is on a sharp decline, and our education levels and literacy rates are dropping drastically. our education levels are literally dropping. People barely can read or read properly and safe educated level. Education allows people to read better with higher literacy rates, be able to understand text better, be able to comprehend text better, better to argue text better, be able to do a lot of things and prevent the worst of the worst better, prevent history's atrocities. This is why education is actually important. Proper funding for education is important. It's not important from the education in the history sector to convince students that Hitler's bad guy, which they already do, which is one, talk about education with Hitler. In the history sector, we only talk about the Holocaust for the most part. Most people don't even know the tactics Hitler used, the direct policies he used, or what he did after he became chancellor, but before World War II, 1933, 1939. Do you know what happened, what he did then, or the direct policies he supported, per se, or he enacted? Do you know about the beer hall putsch? Which I bet you don't. Once again, I mean, I'm not wrong here with this. 22112 over and over, which a certain way, as I mentioned, I'll bring up this point here. There's no such thing as an actual objective way of history, per se. This might be a way for you to, think of it, per se. Think of this idea. There's no objective way of actual history. Because even when you present history, the way it's presented is biased by the historian itself. It's one way to think of some things as well. Really? So, they tell you this guy is a bad guy? Per se, people could make inferences. Some people could generally have validation because how he seems to be persecuted very easily. People immediately assume he's a bad guy, which he should be seen as the bad guy. But some people might not think that way. The issue is literacy can help prevent that. And when we have open, proper conversations, like having genuine curiosity, asking questions out of curiosity, genuine, innocent curiosity, is one thing. Educating them why that's a bad thing is another thing. I was in school, which, considering, I want to mention, you come from North Carolina. But education-wise, I don't think it's doing that well. So I had the same topic over and over and over again in middle school. One, you're 19. You're turning 20 next month. Considering, talking about middle school, that one was 6 years ago, at least. So around COVID. Well, it's not before COVID happened. That was 6 years ago. Oh wow. Even then, this is the long video already. I don't care. Look out the end of the day. Hitler is universally working universally. For the most part, I do hope people do think that. But nothing we can do for those who have these second, call them just opinions already. It's already dumb. It's called talking it out. The thing is, when talking about fascists, do not want to try to give them platform. This is why the Jubilee YouTube account is getting a lot of hatred against right now. That did so back in July when they outright publicly platformed Nazis and fascists. There's an issue with actually doing that. That gives them more platform, more clout for people to actually see them and start being radicalized into their ideology. And in fact, it risks more people becoming fascists. And agree to disagree is about regular day-to-day things like apples and oranges, or coffee types, or pizza toppings. Not human dignity. I'm sorry for going straight to lashing out on that, but it pisses me off when people say, agree to disagree on talking about, and we're talking about human dignity here. And it's a scary comparison that we're doing this here. So I shut them out like there's some alien. Well, you can't spell alien right, which scares me. your the space design habits. Praise or normalization of genocidal ideology is unacceptable. It's my motto, and you violated it. Even treating praise and Hitler as just an opinion is normalization regardless of intent. Keyword, regardless of intent. Once again, let's actually bold this right here. Let's keep the text black and that there. Let's do that. We're bolding this right here. Here, regardless of intent. How do you spot a fascist before it is too late? Answer the question here, says. If you are so smart, then I expect you to know how to answer this in great detail. Right? What mechanisms and propaganda did he spread? How did he do it? What policies did he enact? What specifics? Most Americans can't answer that. I mean, prevent other people to have different opinions and thoughts. Opinions is expression of such thought. Opinions are expressed thoughts. Thoughts are usually private. Opinions are expressed thoughts. Thoughts and opinions are not the same thing. Once again, opinions and thoughts, I'm going to do that there, because opinions and thoughts are two different things. We should know that they're not the same, and using them interchangeably is already stupid. I was thinking the same with you, which, that's okay. That is completely okay. Okay, and that's completely okay. But there are boundaries. There are limits in a shared space. Is the original idea here. And only someone that knows. Not always, actually. There can be, if you want to see things positively, and I'm not saying this naively. I mean, there can be a better chance for a better world. I will say this. There can be a better chance for a better world. Sure, you can see all this over and over. You can pause and read it over yourself. See that here. And all that. Then here they changed the group name for some reason. And here for them they added Pit for some reason too. Which Pit myself I do not like. Even then, the reason why I'm making this video though, the original video, is because of one big thing. Let me actually switch my screen capture, go to there, and actually show you what I'm talking about. What the hell? Yeah. And this, right here, is what I'm talking about. Here, he used his bot that he created back in October to DM me, because I blocked him and I still haven't blocked. I'm going to read this to you, because some of the words he did show, because I'm going to make a part 2 of this, exactly overall, because it's not 9 o'clock, almost 9:30 now. We're going 40 minutes already. This is going to be a long video. I'm doing this like unscripted. I want to mention that. This is unscripted. I realized I've made the situation a lot worse than the charade I pulled on the 6th. One, it was on the 3rd. The fact that he can't remember the date pisses me off. That's beside the point. Not the fact that I'm angry at him, per se, but misremembering dates like this, minor details, pisses me off. It's nothing to do with him personally. I'll make that clear. The things that I have a habit of hating on, when you make misinformation on personal things, small details like this, do piss me off a lot. I want to communicate, but may have hurt. Want to communicate, but may have hurt and made you feel even more unsafe and uncomfortable than ever. Which, yeah, I did. Going to Jay, which is, by the way, Jackie's brother, younger brother, too, by the way, who actually, I want to mention here, let me scroll back up actually. Who generally didn't begin to like show genuine care. Let me see if I can find the video, the comment I had made. Right here. Okay, right here. This video, by the way. I'll put this video in the description. Oh, wrong button. Oh, this is now what I wanted to copy. Hold up. Sorry about that. Let me just copy this. I'll just in this live. So I'm just gonna put this there for a moment. Oh, you want to be supposed to see that? I don't remember. Did I? Okay, I do not remember the exact words I mentioned. I'll have to find out the message I sent. Okay, even then, this is what he was talking about. Back to the original message. Says call me. He said call, because I was going to him, his younger brother, for safety to talk about what happened. But that's still just like trusted Jay and such. Because he generally does mean good and does apologize when he does wrong, and actually knows how to hold himself accountable, which is a rare thing nowadays. And I genuinely do want more people to be like him. I got impatient, which he mentions, yeah, he says here, I got impatient and failed to realize you were truly hurt by me, and you did not feel safe talking to me. He says, I am sorry that I was again, I was truly out of line there. Which, completely admitting an actual fault there is rare, and I do want to mention, I do accept that. When I first saw the message last night, I was confused, like, what? What? I was completely confused, generally confused. Do not do not mention about the this mention above. Do not even worry about that. I'm sorry, you had to see that. I'm just gonna scroll down a bit. Though I do want to clarify that what I meant that day. Sorry, I shouldn't. Which I'm sorry, I shouldn't have elaborated. Should I elaborate the way I did as in a moment? I think the wording of this confuses me a bit. I think you might need to elaborate on that itself. No, it is not okay for someone to praise Adolf Hitler and the Nazi regime. Which, when I first saw the word regime here, Nazi regime used, it felt out of character for him. Look, it's not necessarily wrong to use that word, regime, but it's not usually in character about Jackey. Jackey isn't the type of person to use the word regime. So hearing him use it outside, like in a relevant discotheque here, confuses me. And but put me at a weirdness. You may not want to talk to me anymore, and I understand that I was being very insensitive to how you were feeling in the moment, but I do want to make things clear. I don't support, and I'm not supporting Nazi like ideals, but I'm fine with normalizing it. I understand, and I want to make this clear. I do not genuinely think he had bad intentions with this. The idea that people do bad things for the sake of doing bad things is not even true at all. When people do bad things, they think they're doing the right thing. They don't realize they're doing bad. That's often what happens throughout history. They think they're doing the right thing. So, intentions-wise, most things happen with quote-unquote good intentions. That's what happens throughout most of history. I wanted to point out that there are people out there who do support it despite it being wrong. Rather than educating reprimanding. But you know what reprimanding is crazy for me? Hear him. Another word of his that isn't usually in his vocabulary. At least I've heard him use. Remembering the dangers of those ideals. People can be very stubborn to their thoughts and so there's not too much we can do about it at the moment. Which, as I mentioned through most of this video, there is. I've mentioned this already through multiple times throughout the video. Education, literacy, funding education, and teaching unfiltered history. Like without removing certain details of it to support narrative, or softening the blow of things. Like putting out there bluntly about what actually happened, actually going in depth about what happened in history is important. It is the number one most important thing in education, and I will die by that hill that history is the number one, most important thing subject in school. Not math, but history. This here. This is, but I realized that I made it seem as if I was fine within knowing your feelings about the matter. It was a dangerous matter to you. I'm truly sorry for that. He doesn't mention that. So when you hastily went aggressive on my way to trying to communicate with you, which, yeah, he did. But next part tomorrow. Tomorrow I have exams. Tomorrow's also Jackie's birthday, so I want to admit this and be nice to him. Happy early birthday. I don't really want to admit that. Alright. And tomorrow I'll go with part 2, explaining what the part is about here. Because he went trying to basically communicate with me, and it hurt me even more. I failed to see that. I am a hypocrite. Yeah, he is inconsiderate, naive. I had to relook at the word naive because I thought about something else. I wouldn't say the word naive would be best here, but finally, I'm very disappointed in myself again. I'm sorry. Anyways, this is about the topic. We're talking about earlier. Some deep thoughts about it. Even though I may not find Uncle Roger and Stephen he hurtful and racist to the Chinese Asian community, doesn't mean others would. I'm sorry. I did not want to admit that, and I did not meant when I said Jim Carrey was a racist bastard. I was mad because I didn't want to admit it, because I enjoyed watching Stephen He and Roger and took my anger at you, which fair. In this part, fair. Don't even read it. We'll read this, but if you do, then a very bad person. Do not. Okay, this part here I want to mention. Jackey, if you're watching this part, maybe this part of the video, do not sell yourself short like this. No, you aren't genuinely my brother. You didn't mess up. You did fucked up. But that itself doesn't make you immediately a bad person. Not short change, especially for a long period of time, might slide you into the bad person category, as there's no such thing as a bad or good person. It's straight up binary. It's a spectrum. Although for that moment, at the time being, you did lean slightly towards the badder side, that doesn't mean you can't slide back into the good side. Do not sell yourself short either. Do not, and I want to say this, it is still not healthy. You don't have to forgive me, which, so that he admits this, is, wow. He does actually kind of mean this. And I am very sure you won't, which, yeah, I might just do my forgive him. Will I allow him back to my life? Entry into conversation-wise? Probably not. At least not right away. Having to forgive him is one thing. Allow him re-entry is a whole different thing. But I'm sorry for being an idiot. Which, alright, this video is now nearly 15 minutes. This is going to be a long video to try to upload. I cannot see what you play this spot. I'm going to figure out how to get that part working so he can review it. Then I saw my YouTube channel. This one YouTube, he entered that for some reason, and it was equal. He was still in it. He never looked technically. I don't think he did. He had equal join as well for some reason. Back in this other hub. Don't worry about this. If you want to join, just let me know. He said this right here just now, and this when I saw this, that reminded me oh yeah, I didn't make this video at all. It says here, can we please talk? I won't say much. I just want to listen to what you gotta say. In fact, this right here is why I'm making this video. You'll see it, hopefully. So when I'm done with this video, I'm going to share this video with him. I'm just gonna send the link. That's all that. I'm gonna reply this right here, do this, and send the link. That's all I'm gonna do. That's all I'm gonna do. And then I'm gonna go with my day. This rest of the day, because it's almost getting 9:30 now. This has been going on for almost an hour. Since I was wrong, I messed up. I'll just listen to what you gotta say. I have no right to say anything back. I know what I regret and what I did, and realize what I've done. And if he does genuinely wish, he is showing that he's generally starting to regret this. I'm not starting to, but he's definitely showing it to a good extent. Is it the perfect extent? No. Perfection is one thing. I'm not the best with words. I want to mention that. As for the last time, this is all scripted. Not scripted at all. This is raw. So if I sound like I am like not at the best of my peak, or what would sound good, that's the thing. That would be explanation of it. Now, I'm gonna fix this here. So now the whole thing. This is just part one. This is already 50 minutes, 51 minutes almost. I'm not editing anything out. I'm not editing anything in. I'm maybe other than the captions if I do decide to. Which no one see how long this video is. I don't want to. I don't speak that well, but knowing me, I might have to. But yeah, how? Okay, never mind. Get off topic. Tomorrow, maybe sometime later this week, I'll get a second part to what happened. Instead of just going on what happened on the third. And now, I'm going between periods between ahead. Like what happened the days after, and I'll gather that up and go with that. So this is just part one of probably two, maybe three. I'm not sure yet. But I guess that's it. Hopefully he can learn. Hopefully he does watch the entire thing, which I doubt considering how annoying my voice is. I'll admit that, yeah. I doubt he'll actually watch the entire thing. A thing of a fear, he might skip through parts. He might. He generally might. So I'm just gonna let you do with that, and I'll see you at another time. See ya. Goodbye.